guys, it's Amanda with Eat Pray Crunch, and today I am doing a tag video. I was tagged by Katie from Katie Cooks and Crafts. Thank you so much for tagging me. I have been looking forward to doing this video. Basically, the dinner tag was created by Dreamflight 6000. It makes you think about, what you like to cook for dinner for this and for that. So there are 10 questions, and I will say who I tag at the end of the video. So let's get started. Number 1 is favorite Crockpot meal. Bill and I got to discussing this because we make a fair amount in our Crockpot. It's like my easiest way to cook meat. It's like my favorite way to cook meat because it's so easy. We do, like whole chickens a lot in the Crockpot. We make, like Katie said in her tag, we make bone broth a lot. But we came to the conclusion that our favorite Crockpot meal was a recipe that we cooked a few years ago out of the cookbook Make It Fast, Cook It Slow. That's like my favorite Crockpot cookbook. They have some awesome, really simple, easy recipes in there, and a lot of them are really congruent with how we eat. We like to eat a traditional real food diet, fresh ingredients, a good balance of fruits, vegetables, grains that are, grains and legumes that are prepared like in a traditional way, and lots of meats and animal products that are sourced from really good sources. So basically like eating animals that are local and were raised in the environment they were meant to live in. So the recipe from that cookbook that we chose was a pomegranate pot roast, and it was amazing. A couple years ago we actually got a share of a cow, and that's how we affordably buy local grass-fed beef. Is we'll get together with a handful of friends and find a local farmer that does this kind of thing, and you can either get like a whole cow or half a cow or a quarter of a cow. Now that doesn't mean that they just give you like a half of a whole cow and you're expected to butcher it yourself. They actually, you work with a butcher and they give you the cuts of meat and everything. It's not just like a hanging cow. So that's what we did with some friends a few years back, and we had a freezer full of amazing grass-fed local beef from a farm where the cow lived just, a half an hour from where we live. And the meat was so fresh and so good too. So anyway, for that recipe we used a rump roast, and it's just, this big old hunk of meat. And with the pomegranate flavor, like I think you used pomegranate juice, and there was like a tomato base with it, and it was to die for. I think it's the best beef dish both Bill and I have ever had. It was so good. So that's my answer for number 1. Number 2 is easiest cleanup meal. Easiest cleanup meal. This is like our cop-out meal, basically. If I have not taken the time to cook, or if we're feeling lazy, or we don't have time or whatever, we have in our freezer a bunch of the Aidells sausage, and you can get quite a few of those at Costco actually for a pretty decent price. But we like the Aidells because it's, nitrate free, it's mostly natural, like almost organic. So it's a pretty good source of sausage. So usually, if we need a quick dinner with like zero cleanup, we just like either toast or microwave one of those Aidells sausage. And if it's like summertime or like right now, we'll just go out in the garden and like pick a handful of veggies and throw them on our plate, and there's our dinner. So super easy. Really don't really cook anything, and there's no cleanup other than the dishes that we eat off of. I know it's kind of like a cop-out dinner, but we do that often when, we are short on time or whatever. Question number 3 is favorite Pinterest dish. Now, like Katie, I have kind of an unpopular opinion about Pinterest. Like, not that I have a negative view of Pinterest. I think it's awesome, but I am very selective about which social media I use, because I feel like my time is really valuable, and I only have, time really to like do my YouTube and to do like my personal Facebook. And I have a Eat Pray Crunch Facebook page now, so check that out below. If you haven't gone over and liked that, be sure to do that. But I feel like with that limited time, like I don't really have time to do Pinterest and, all these other things. So I do have a Pinterest account, and I have pinned a couple things in there, but honestly, that's not really what I use it for, and I actually don't use it that much. But I did log into my Pinterest because I hadn't even gone into my Pinterest account for probably several months, for close to a year. And there was actually a good answer in there. It's not really a dinner answer, but it's an awesome recipe, and it's something that I have really enjoyed making in the past, and that is raw vanilla ice cream. I've mentioned many times before that we drink raw milk at our house. Someday, at some point, I will make a video about why we choose to drink raw milk, but it has made a world of difference in our health. I thought that I wasn't able to tolerate dairy until I tried raw milk, and my body tolerated it. Like, I was kind of shocked because I hadn't been able to consume like cow dairy for a couple years. Anyway, that's a story for another day, but the point is we drink raw milk, and we get it from a very local farm, and we live in Washington State, and it's regulated here, which is great, which is good news for raw milk consumers because they go out every few weeks and they actually test the milk and continue to make sure that it's safe. So I feel very comfortable consuming it, and we've been drinking it for like over 2 years now and haven't had any problems. At least at the time when I was making a lot of raw ice cream, the farm where we got our raw milk also had raw cream. And so I would get, you know, like a quart of raw cream. I made raw vanilla ice cream, like with actual vanilla beans too. I mean, this is like traditional, like the most, you know, traditional kind of ice cream you can have, and it is so good. I think the recipe was off the Holistic Squid. I don't know if you guys have heard of that blog, but she has a lot of really good whole food, like traditional recipes on there. So I think that's where it came from. That's not a dinner answer, or maybe, you know, maybe I had ice cream for dinner when I was pregnant. I don't know. But that's my favorite thing that I pinned. Healthiest dinner recipe. If you guys haven't seen our journey with food, I made a whole video about that and how we have healed dietary problems, fertility problems, all of that by eating this traditional diet. And traditional basically means like eating the way our ancestors ate before the advent of processed food. That's my favorite way to describe it. So basically how people ate before processed food and factory farms. So we follow the 80-20 rule, so 80% of the time we like to eat that way and 20% of the time we don't worry about it, just because, you know, socially it's a lot easier to do that. And just in terms of your mental health, like if you slip up now and then, it's not a big deal. That 80% of the time we cook that way. Most of the dinners we eat, I feel like, are pretty darn healthy. I asked Bill, I was like, what is the healthiest dish we eat for dinner? And he's like, salmon. I was like, okay, that's a good pick. We do like to eat fresh wild-caught Alaskan salmon, especially when it's in season and, you know, they have like a high run and, you know, it's more affordable certain times of year. So we do cook a fair amount of salmon, and usually it's a pretty easy dish. We just bake it most of the time, and, you know, it's a pretty basic recipe that we do most of the time with salmon, just, you know, like with butter and lemon juice, and you know, Bill is our spice meister. He goes through our spice cabinet or uses herbs from our garden and, you know, sprinkles all the herbs on, and we throw it in the oven, and it's done pretty quick. It's like a 20-minute dish. Everybody agrees how healthy fish is for you. So the other day, like, we had baked salmon with a salad that was made entirely out of our garden. So I'd say that that's probably like one of the healthiest meals that we eat. Number 5 is favorite soup. We do like to make a lot of soups in the winter time, and especially in the Crockpot. We definitely are Crockpot people. Bill and I had different answers on this one. He said that his favorite is split pea soup, just because that was a soup that he was, you know, was like a staple in his family growing up. But I just, like, I like it, but it's not my favorite. So I just decided to go with beef stew, like a traditional hearty beef stew with like potatoes and carrots in it. And the difference of what makes any soup a really amazing soup, and especially in, you know, a beef stew, is the bone broth, like I was talking about. bone broth is definitely a traditional food. It's something that, you know, a lot of traditional peoples do, you know, using every part of the animal. They boil the bones to get the marrow out of it and the gelatin, and it is incredibly important for our health, for our digestion. The beef stew that we like to make in the crock pot made with the bone broth is just amazing, and it's so good when it's cold outside. Number 6 is most unique dish that you've made. You guys probably saw that I did a review on the Fresh 20 cookbook, and that is the cookbook that I am just going through right now because I am really not much of a meal planner. I don't like meal planning, and this Fresh 20 just like lays it all out for you, and it's seasonal, so all the ingredients you get are in season and more affordable in the store and everything. It's amazing, and the recipes are amazing, so that's what we're doing currently. And about a month or so ago, I made the most unique dish out of that cookbook that I have ever made, and that is gazpacho. I think that's how you pronounce it, and it means a cold soup basically. And I had never made cold soup before, and it was basically just like sticking all of these fresh vegetables in your blender and blending it up with some spices and broth. Bill and I both agreed that it, you know, the amount of onion she called to put in there, especially for being raw, was a bit too much. It was kind of overpowered by this raw onion flavor. I still liked it though, but Bill is not huge on raw onions, and so, you know, we figured if we do like maybe a quarter of the onions next time, it would taste pretty good. But that is definitely the most, I think, the most unique dish that I have made. Number 7 is favorite pasta dish. As of right now, I am trying to lose baby weight. In my efforts to do that, I am actually swaying a little more paleo. And paleo is actually very similar to the way that we eat, except for we also have dairy and grains and legumes, but the grains and legumes are either sprouted or soaked. That being said, I am kind of swaying a little more paleo right now because I really do think that avoiding an excess of carbs does help you lose, you know, weight that you don't need. Current favorite pasta dish is spaghetti squash spaghetti, and that's basically just using spaghetti squash instead of actual spaghetti noodles. I don't know if you guys have ever cooked with spaghetti squash, but basically when you know, bake it and take it out of the oven and cut it open, it looks like spaghetti inside. You just like, you know, take it out with a fork, and it's like these like stringy things like noodles, and it works just as well. And you just make a normal spaghetti sauce to put with it, and usually we'll put ground beef in it. We had, you know, like I mentioned, up until recently we actually had a bunch of ground beef from that quarter of a cow that we got, you know, a year or so ago. We put that in our spaghetti sauce and then put that on top of the spaghetti squash, and it was really good. So even though it's technically not an actual pasta dish, I'd say that that's my current like paleo pasta dish that I really like. A kitchen tool that I would really like to get is a vegetable spiralizer. I don't know if you guys have heard of these things, but you basically just like, you can stick zucchini or squash or whatever you want, whatever veggie you want to put through it raw, and you just like put it through and it creates these like spirals like noodles, but they're made out of veggies. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to get one of these because it's kind of the same idea. You can make noodles out of vegetables and not be eating so many carbs and increasing the amount of vegetables you're eating. So anyway, that's my dream for my pasta in the future. Number 8 is favorite kids meal. Okay, so our 2-year-old is like the pickiest eater ever, and granted, like, we are all about, you know, this healthy eating and everything, and we have tried. Like when he was younger, he would eat absolutely everything that we gave to him, like, you know, until he was about, I want to say like 15, 16, 17 months, somewhere in there. He just like this switch flipped and he just like wouldn't eat anything anymore. It's just like, oh my gosh, you're killing me, kid. He's still incredibly picky. We're starting to get to a point where we can like bribe him with dessert a little more to, you know, eat some things, but other things he just won't eat. So that being said, he's incredibly picky about, he won't eat fresh fruits and vegetables at all. Like most toddlers will at least eat fruit, right? But he won't eat fruit. He'll have it in smoothie form, but he won't eat a piece, like he won't eat a piece of apple. However, that being said, The kid will eat any kind of animal product. He's like a meat and potatoes kind of kid. And he will eat most meat that we put in front of him. His absolute favorite meat that we serve is salmon. I know I talked about salmon before, but any kind of salmon that we give to him, he gobbles it up. The baked salmon that I was talking about, we get salmon burgers at Costco as a quick dinner for us sometimes. He loves salmon burgers. And smoked salmon. He loves smoked salmon. We get that at Costco as well, and he will just gobble that right up. So if we were to ask Alex, my guess is that he would probably say salmon is his favorite dinner. Number 9 is favorite dish to bring to a party or a potluck. This one we had to think about a little bit. Bill has some Swedish ancestry, and almost every Christmas we have a Christmas party at our house with all of our friends. And in the tradition of his family, something that his family has done, you know, for generations before, they make Swedish meatballs around Christmas time every year. Kind of like IKEA, right? But even better. Even though it's not so much something that I cook so much, it's something that my husband Bill cooks. I would say that that is our favorite party dish because we serve it every year at our Christmas party, and they are so good. We make a gravy to go with them as well, and they're just to die for. They're not like the healthiest thing to eat, but they are so good. So number 10 is who do I tag? So I would say in general, if you are interested in this tag and you have a YouTube channel, I would love to see you make this video, and don't forget to link it down below. I would specifically like to tag Jessica from Family Days because I know she cooks in a lot of similar ways that we do, so I would love to see her responses. And I would love to see Kayla from Mama Dabbles, and Lauren from Yay Lauren, and Savannah from Pregnant and Paleo. Obviously, since Savannah eats paleo, I'm interested in that aspect as well. And Ashley from the Semi Crunchy Mama. She's always posting amazing dishes that she's cooking as well. So anyway, if you ladies would like to do this tag, I would love to see your answers as well. And for those of you watching, I will have all of their channels linked down below. Go check them out. They all have awesome channels, and I love watching with them and interacting with them. So anyway, that is it for the dinner tag. Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to like this video and hit that subscribe button if you haven't subscribed already, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.